studio. I just waved to him.
Yeah, he's got talking with.
He's coming in. He's gonna.
Oh,
he's making a cameo.
Hey, what are we gonna talk about today?
We'll have to pay him royalties to have him stop in on a show.
It's a talent fee right there.
It is.
Throw him
for just an appearance, I think is $100.
Morning, Ryan. Morning, Greg. Theo and Elijah in for you today.
Hey, we'll see.
No,
wait. We see if anybody else notices that.
Oh, okay, sure. We'll see.
Maybe we give him like a free 8-slice toaster or something.
One free red beer tomorrow before Nebraska, Colorado.
My neighbor across the street is a Colorado fan, and I'm so tired of him waving that Colorado flag.
I got family from Denver, plenty of family in Denver coming to town. They're not proud Buff fans, but they are Buff fans coming for the game.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, my cousin, she's a sophomore at CU, so I understand that one.
Well, sure. If you attend the school, yeah,
I get it. I don't like her for attending the school, but
it depends what your major is. A lot of people when they pick schools, like, wow, God, I hate that football team, but boy, do they have a great engineering program.
Boys, is exactly what I'm looking for from an education point of view. I think Will's made a special intro. Is that true?
Yes.
Yeah,
it is.
Gonna be rocking with that today.
And he's a crafty little fella. You gotta watch him. What is he doing again?
What? He's coming back from Colorado. He's been a Buff sleeper agent all week. Yeah.
A sleeper agent?
Yep. He's feeding the other side info.
We can't even get him to feed us info some days. I mean, what's he gonna tell them?
He was at a wedding this week. I don't actually know what's Hooksy up to. That's the thing. I've been working with him all week.
I think his wife's grandfather might have passed away. So,
is that it?
Yes.
Okay.
Morning, Shane. What is this B team?
Full B team. They're not wrong.
I think this is it's like Legends Weekend. Isn't it?
That's one way to put it.
Yeah.
I was going to say it's like the Scabs. We're the Scabs for the NFL stepping in.
Like when I went down to KC a couple weekends ago, watched Royals and the Phillies. Lorenzo Cain comes out and throws out the first pitch.
This is the Morning Hookup on KFOR.
Thank God it's Friday.
I can't do the Hooksy thing. I'm not going to do the Hooksy thing.
Well, I've never opened a show.
Good morning,
Lincoln, Nebraska.
I'm not going to do that.
You're not gonna?
Well, I wasn't sure. This is the first time I've heard this intro. Will just had it saved in his folder, and I'm like, maybe there's something
let that
coming.
ride a little bit.
Yeah, maybe there's something special coming, but it is just serious. Which is a good song. Don't get me wrong.
Before you bust out the Robin Williams.
Good morning, Vietnam.
Yes.
Rest in peace, by the way.
Happy Friday, Elijah.
It's a fullback Friday here. The morning hookup. Hooksy out. Will out.
Boy, what are we going to do?
Herbal and Malone stepping in, saving the day on a Friday. A fullback Friday.
And speaking of fullback, I think I went at the door. So
you
do some juggling, entertain the crowd here.
So, airplane food, huh? No. Nebraska, Colorado week. We are gearing up on a Friday. It's Theo Malone, Elijah Herbal in with you on the morning hookup. Theo is off to go get Dr. Dane Todd at the front door. We'll also have Jeff Moats coming your way here in about 15 minutes, a high school football update. I know we had a huge performance by Millard South tonight as they really beat down on Millard West. Surprised to see. I know Millard South is supposed to be good this year. Still slightly surprised with that performance. Steve Malone's back in studio with us.
Yeah, just pop the door open. Dane's coming in. So.
Okay. You running?
Yeah, I outran that fullback.
You no confidence in me?
I had a head start. No, I did. We get an hour show. I don't want to be here for just 58 minutes of it.
That's great.
So no, I didn't really outrun him. I had a head start.
Well, we were
And
just setting up the
And
show.
he has his satchel.
and
is
a Southeast
is that a
football shirt
satchel?
on today.
Merce.
Yeah.
Boy, I am excited. Definitely got some questions for Dane that we'll have today because with it being
Absolutely.
Colorado week,
Yeah.
Dane being obviously a lifelong Nebraska fan, he'll probably have some stories too. And because, from my standpoint of being, what do you guys say? I'm 78, somewhere in that ballpark. Okay. Colorado wasn't always a rival. They weren't. And it wasn't until about the time I was starting college when the Bill McCartney, Salinesi, let's win one for Sal thing started up and they started getting competitive. And that's kind of when it started. And maybe it tapered off a little bit. We'll ask Dane about, the 5 games, counting your redshirt season. I think you went 3-2.
3-2.
3-2.
I think.
Yes.
Yeah,
I did my homework already.
That's fair. I'm sitting here. I'm sitting here futzing with this chair. This is like, I don't know who was sitting in this before. This is the most ridiculous setup I've ever seen.
It's terrible.
Somebody put the arms at like chest height, and it's unclear to me what's happening right now.
I kind of like that chair.
Well, you know what?
Not comfortable.
I feel bad telling him it used to be here, and I switched it before he came in because I hate it too.
It's definitely a lean back chair.
Oh, is it? Okay,
yeah. That's the problem.
I'll get to it at the first break.
Because we have those over in the other studio, and I search them out. I go look for them, but they are definitely a chair that's more meant for leaning back.
We have like 7 chairs in here.
Yeah,
we'll find him one at the next break. No, I don't like sitting in that at all.
Yeah, but back to the Colorado game. Yep, 3-2. Last game I ever played in Memorial Stadium. Beat the brakes off them. Classic. And didn't even have to play in the fourth quarter. It was awesome.
That is great.
Top 10 moments of my entire career was hanging out on the sideline watching the other guys play football.
I mean, because you guys were ranked. I want to say 23rd at the time, and you beat them. I think it was 37-14.
Yeah, and it wasn't that close. It wasn't even that close.
Is it? Well, and I don't mean to go out totally off on a tangent. Obviously, you were recruited under a different staff, and so for your senior game, you get to hug Bill Callahan, who wasn't there as long as the other staff. Did that make it more? Because you see all the pictures of Grant Winstrom and all these guys hugging T.O., know, and the tears just rolling down their faces, the 5 years that they got to spend. I mean, I'm sure it still meant something,
Yeah, no, it was, but I mean, Callahan was there for 3 of my 5 years.
Oh, was he? Okay.
Right? So that was longer. But the best part about senior day was the fact that they completely botched the introductions of the players on my senior day. And so they screwed up the timing on everything. And so they were just sending guys out more or less at random. And so it was really good. So you spend 5 years there, and then they somehow managed to screw up the only time they have to get it right. So that was nice.
Aren't they supposed to do it numerically?
It's unclear to me what they were accomplishing, right?
It was like the seating chart in English class.
Yeah, it was
totally random.
It was just totally random. So it was just great. Yeah, I still remember that, right? Like you play your whole career, and then you go and do that, and they can't even get the one time when anybody remembers there was a fullback, right?
Well, did you at least get cheers whenever you?
It's unclear. I don't know. Don't know.
Well, his mom knew it was him when he ran out.
I think all the fans were confused too. Nobody knew what was happening.
But Dane, we got a lot that we'll obviously talk about, this week with the Colorado game coming up tomorrow. And we'll talk about that game. While we have you in here, I want to talk a little bit about, where was that rivalry, if it was a rivalry at that time, as far as I'm sure that was the game that was, replaced Oklahoma once, that they did some jumbling and stuff like that with the schedule and whatnot. And how big of a game was that? And obviously your senior year, we talked a little bit about the score. Was there extra motivation that week? Was there the hatred towards Colorado at that time when you were there?
Well, it was a little different, I guess, when I was there. Like, yeah, sure, there was some sort of rivalry going on, right? But if I recall correctly, we played Oklahoma. We played them in the Big 12 championship game. Right, that my senior year, right, and so we were already playing Oklahoma. And both years prior to that, we played Oklahoma down there and at home, and so we were kind of always that whole Oklahoma Nebraska thing was happening all the time while I was still there, right? Or it seemed to be. And so I don't know that anybody really penciled it in that much for the Colorado game. I know that, we just didn't like each other. And the first time I went out to Colorado, that both teams about had a fist fight on the 50 before the game because the Colorado players were being idiots, and then we beat them badly there. And then, the next time I went out there, they threw out the student section. And so
was that the same game where Barnett had to get on the megaphone?
Yeah, I think so.
To tell them to quit throwing stuff or whatnot.
Yeah, and then the refs stopped the game
and kicked them all out.
Kicked out all the students.
Was it 30-3 final score?
Yes, 30-3.
30-3. Bill Callahan ran the option once just for fun in that game. And Zach basically took the snap and pitched it. He didn't even try.
Did we even have a fake to the fullback though? Or was it a pure
no.
triple option?
Oh no, I was out there. I knew what to do because I always ran the option. So I just took off running.
All right.
Went and tried to cut somebody.
More of a speed option type.
Yeah, more of a speed option kind of deal. But
and then I think that was also Barnett's last game as Colorado's head coach, if I remember correctly.
Well, it wouldn't surprise me.
I think it was.
Yeah, that may have been
but it was one of those things where I don't know. I think rivalries and things are more for the fans than they are for the players, because to us, it doesn't really change anything about what we do prep wise. It doesn't change what we do about in the game. It's just you're going and playing football, right? And I think it just rivalries are great. It generates and garners interest for things, but nothing ever changed the week before any of those big games for us. Nothing. We still practiced at the same time. We still ran the same plays. We still ate the same food. We still did the same routine. And when it showed up for game time, you still did the same things, right? And so the whole like rivalry part of things, that's for fans. Like the players don't notice that as much. And if they do, they're probably paying attention to the wrong things.
Well, have you heard some of the chirping we've had back and forth from Colorado and Nebraska this week? It's been probably less significant than what we saw last year, but there still has been a little bit of chirping back and forth between some teams and press conferences.
I mean, that's fine. I haven't been paying any attention to it. And I can't say obviously because it doesn't matter. Right.
Well, they talk about bulletin board material.
Sure.
Is that a real thing?
I suppose.
Okay.
Right. I don't know.
It
doesn't.
But the two things are: is it a thing? Yes. Does it matter? That's the other side.
Right. In my opinion, the way I look at it is football's too much of a team-based sport to end up having like one player saying something make a difference in the game. Okay. Football's not like it's not like boxing where it's going to be one-on-one and guys are going to be angry at each other and go and try to hurt each other, right? It's not like hockey where, there's 5 players on the ice total, right? And you can go and single out one guy. Football's way too team-based where everybody has a role to play, a position to do, to where you can't it's not like you're going to immediately change a game by going after somebody unless you're going to do something cheap and dirty that's just going to cause problems.
Well, I think that, some of this chirping you were talking about, that some of those guys must read this and must hold grudges, because I'm thinking to the end of last year's Nebraska-Colorado game, and one of Coach Sanders' son is just absolutely racing up by his side, like giving Coach Rule the death glare, because I think he must have used a wrong choice of word or something and during that week in the press. Do you guys remember that?
Yeah, I remember something like that. But here's the thing, right? What can you honestly tell me you're going to play that much better, right? Can you honestly tell me you're gonna throw the football better because you're angry, right? Probably not.
I do think there is a concerted effort this year from Colorado, because Colorado it was the disrespect card. It was Matt Rule talking about how like roster construction, where he's like, some people are out there using the transfer portal. I don't believe in that. I don't think that's the right way to go about it. And Colorado took that personally, quote unquote. There's been, I think, more of a concerted effort this week from Colorado to not play so emotionally, because they had emotions riding high through the first couple of games of that season, and I don't think an emotional high team was the team that you wanted to go make it through the grind of their Pac-12 slate last year. You get beat down a couple of times, and that team got lost. I think there's been an effort of them to not be as emotional headed into this game, but you still, like, Jimmy Horn got up in front of Colorado media yesterday, and he was definitely more muted than last year, what you heard from some of those Colorado players, but was talking about, hey, I've been listening to Nebraska's press conferences this week. I know what they're saying. So
I think it's been pretty tame, and I think any head coach who does the right thing is be in there telling his guys, hey, don't give them any reason, because you do have a few guys over there that are off kilter that just go out there, keep it in, because and here comes the old school in me. I remember back to the 95 team listening to Florida all week, and T.O. had those guys even keeled. And it wasn't until after the game where they're like, we heard everything they said, the ride the train thing, and we went out, we bundled it up, and we did our talking on the field.
Yeah. But I mean, they still played the same football game they were going to play, right?
I do, but
it's not,
I think it might have psyched them up a little more, but I don't get me
Sure.
wrong. That was an awesome
fine,
team.
But I mean, at the end of the day, you don't go from, you don't, in my opinion, you don't go from an average football player to an exceptional football player because you're angry, right? You don't do that for 60 minutes, right? It doesn't change the nature of your preparation and abilities and skill.
So is there the one for the Gipper speeches in the locker room just to get a little extra step out of someone?
I mean, sure, you might get a little extra step out of someone, but
Trey Palmer waking up feeling pissed off.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, though, it's still just those players have the ability to do those things, right? We don't become superhuman, right? I can't be as angry as I want to, like, wake up one day and just be really mad and go kick a 60-yard field goal. I physically am incapable of doing that. Okay. Now, can Greg Zuerlein, right, potentially get a little more motivation and kick the ball a little bit harder once in a while? Sure. Okay.
Is that the coach's job to draw that out of them, though, for 60 seconds or 60 minutes?
Sure, I guess.
But I'm asking because I don't know.
But if that's what you're relying on to win football games, you're a terrible football team.
That's what I'm talking about with
and maybe that will be exposed this week, too.
And that's like so the rivalry thing, great. Play it up. Everybody have fun with it. That's awesome. At the end of the day, like, it's just football. It's X's, O's. It's, am I bigger, stronger, and faster than the other kid? And am I, better trained and have more skill?
And at the end of the day, I probably worry more about this Nebraska team if they come into this game emotionally charged up than if they treat it like any other game. Because what have we seen from the past 10 years of Nebraska football? In a big moment, when the lights are bright, they crumble. So do you want them treating this like it's some sort of special rivalry game? Because the history of what we've seen over the past couple of years from Nebraska is that in that moment, they're going to crumble. If you get to a close game late,
I want them to treat it as an opportunity. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later in the show, about the opportunity that presents himself. So,
yeah, we'll take a quick break here. We got to get Jeff Moats in studio. High school football thoughts. Millard South, big win over Millard West last night. A massive performance from the Patriots. Full slate of high school football coming tonight. So we'll get Jeff Moats' take on things after the break here on the Morning Hookup.
You're listening to the Morning Hookup with Bill Hooks and Will Wilson. More coming up.
It's a Jeff Moats Friday.
I have sent him the link. Have we seen him? Do we have eyes on Moats?
I didn't see him when I walked in, but I didn't look very hard.
I didn't look at all. So
yeah, you did the right thing. Moatsy will just appear. Yeah, this chair is joking. There we go. Now we're talking. I mean, it's just
in no way, shape, or form comes.
Some of these babies wore.
Oh, are you now?
There he is. There he is.
There's the almanac.
Who drives the white Toyota out there with the
Shorzy
window that says Shorzy 2024?
I was wondering the same thing.
Give your balls a tug.
Oh my goodness, that's awesome though. Did you send me the link, Elijah?
Oh, I can.
You said insert.
Your Gmail, yeah.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
And Mozi's going to be on mic 1, yeah.
Oh. Sorry, what?
Your Gmail, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've sent it to your Gmail. And Mozi, you're on mic 1. Mic 1, testing, mic 1.
He doesn't have his headphones on. Check,
Classic.
baby, check.
Hello.
Baby.
There it is, yeah.
Classic.
One,
Yeah.
2, 3, 4. Don't give me that look. It's the only look I got.
Mozi, were you covering a game last night?
I did not. The only game in town was Standing Bear and Scott.
I was there.
How'd that go?
It went fine.
42-0 Scott.
It was only 28-0 at halftime.
Only.
It wasn't like the Northwest Elkhorn South game from a couple years ago. I swear it was 70
90 to
Yeah, it was
whatever.
It was like
Well,
a
it was-
Pacific
it was-
Nebraska score.
It was North Star and Benson a year ago.
Oh, yeah,
North Star
that's-
won 93-0.
Oh, yeah. Well, I know standing.
Why didn't Jay Sims score on the last play then?
Standing Bear's got some nice players.
Yeah, Standing Bear was feeling
They're
pretty good about what
young.
they were going to be this
Do
year.
you know, we've talked about it on the show that in the future, that's going to be the next hotbed for athletic
They got
talent.
some really nice freshmen and sophomores.
Yeah.
Really nice.
Like-
Some big, like, I was out there. I was like, these guys are the freshmen that did not look like freshmen at all.
So they got a good weight program already over there.
It's unclear to me.
Good NIL packages too.
Oh, is that what it
Great-
is?
Great packages. Yeah, great packages. But Scott did the right thing. They turned it into kind of a JV reserve football game,
Yeah.
which actually was kind of, I mean, it was actually kind of fun second half because, or honestly, the last 3 quarters because
Mhm.
it made the game.
A little bit more interesting.
Yeah, it was just competitive. If you just ignored the scoreboard, it was kind of, competitive with kids trying hard and working hard and nobody getting injured. And it was good. Scott did exactly the right thing last night.
I'm going to see Standing Bear in Northwest later this season. That's one of the Thursday night games this year out at Seacrest.
In.
Do you want to sit in?
In.
Okay. All right.
The 2 expansion teams play each other, huh?
Yeah. Yeah. Figure we got to cover them a little bit. Why not give them some love? Sure.
You should, absolutely.
Yeah.
Is it out at the
It is out at
the
Seacrest.
oh, it's not the Falcon Nest?
No, it's at Seacrest.
Okay.
UBT Stadium. They paid a lot for that sponsorship.
Falcon Nest.
Okay.
Because Pinnacle Bank is called the Vault.
Okay.
That's the nickname.
All I know is this.
Work with me
paid a lot
here.
of money. We're coming back here.
New guy.
VIP coming live from the VIP. Heard the nightlife, lost life without me. Local feds in the state wanna see by me. The whole city.
We're going through a fullback Friday here on the Morning Hookup. You not a fan of the song choice?
Oh, it just caught me off guard.
Sorry,
It's new.
it's old. Actually, it's one of the.
Well,
older
I mean,
ones
it's a newer rejoined song.
Yeah, sure. We welcome Jeff Motes into the show here as we get a high school football update. Motesy, how you been? Football's back in full swing. Got some NFL last night.
Yeah. Our first broadcast of the 2024 season is tonight here on KFOR. We'll have Southwest, Southeast at Seacrest. We'll be on about around 6:50, maybe a little bit before. And I know you, Dr. Todd, will be out there in full force.
I will be there hoping to do nothing.
Hoping to do nothing. And this is a game or a matchup that has been traditionally a big draw in Lincoln. If you go back over the past 10 to 15 years, the average crowd turnout is ballpark probably about $5,000, maybe on average, maybe a little bit more. But there have been years where they've had maybe 5,000. They've had crowds of 8,500 out there at Seacrest.
Yeah, I think the year after Southeast won the state title, something in 2012 or 2013, which is a while ago now. I think they broke 9,000 fans. at
It
Seacrest.
was around that figure.
because
it was
Southwest had the Banderas and Locature, and they had a pretty good ball club.
Yeah.
That team, but that year as
Locature,
well.
you mean?
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, Locature.
The LSU guy.
Yeah.
Well, they used to play that game the very first game of the season every year.
Mm-hmm.
And it was always, and so part of it too is that everybody's all excited to go to the first game, and now it's not typically the first game of the year.
No.
And so a little bit of that, like everybody wanting to just go to the first football game and then having it be the big rivalry game, right? Makes it,
That's for the students.
yeah, it's for the students, and it is. I can tell you for a fact that it doesn't work in their favor because one of the first, I I can't remember it was either. I think it was Southwest, one of the first Southeast Southwest games I ever saw. It was the first time I ever saw a kid get thrown out for having too many unsportsmanlike conduct penalties.
Really?
Right? Because just had to kill everybody, right? How'd that work out? Worked out great. You're on the bench. So,
Right.
you know,
And I think, tonight's game in particular, the weather is going to be gorgeous. So, I mean, there is the great potential that this could be a big draw tonight, and, plan accordingly if you're going to go out and watch the game. And if you still have one of those devices that's called a portable radio or Walkman with headphones, you can tune us in and listen to the play-by-play while you're watching it too.
that would be nice. Is it going to be kind of a light sweater kind of evening? Is that what we're looking
I
at?
think kickoff temperature time should be somewhere in the lower to mid 70s, and
Maybe
then
a cardigan.
Ooh,
bring a cardigan.
that might be good.
That to me, that's like shorts and like a quarter zip weather.
I guess I need to know. Do
Yeah.
I need a stocking cap?
No.
No,
Oh, he's bald though.
don't say that, because that just gets us closer to snowy weather and cold.
I might have to
No.
swing by the house after work.
Don't you have a
Pick up-
Southeast baseball cap or something?
Doctor,
No.
you lose too
I
much
got a
heat off the
Southeast
top of the
stocking
head.
cap though.
What about like a Southeast shawl or a Afghan?
No, I've got a long sleeve. Maybe I'll get that. Yeah, maybe a scarf.
A scarf.
That'd be good.
I think this game though tonight is going to be fun to watch, because this Southeast team, they went out and played Grand Island last Friday night and got a 15-point win on the
Yeah.
road with a new quarterback and
Ne-
Trey Bolin.
Never easy to go storm the island either.
No, that's not an easy place to play. It's a
No.
nice looking place to play at, but never an easy place to try to come out with a win.
Did they
But
ever? Do you know with this renovation they did they ever fix the visitor locker rooms at Grand Island? Because those were some of the worst visiting
Oh, they
locker
were
rooms I
horrible.
ever
They
spent
were
time in
so
my
bad.
life.
So bad.
I remember when I was in high school, we ran track out there, and we never used that. And I think they used to have Grand Island used to come out of the locker rooms in the school,
Mhm.
and I don't know where they put the visitors at. Was it on the east side of the
It was
stadium?
underneath
It was
the
on
visitor
the
side.
east side.
Yeah,
yeah.
I don't know, but if you go out there, that West Stadium part is absolutely phenomenal. I mean, it looks like a Division II, high-end Division III type of stadium. Down the road you got Hastings College. It's similar to that. But you got elevators that take you up to whatever level of the press box you want. You got a great view of everything from that press box, and it's very good accommodations. They got chairback seats in the stadium out there.
Ooh,
So it's nicer in Nebraska.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's a nice set. And since you've played against them, that they take their football really seriously
Mhm.
out there. I mean,
Yeah.
they have a lot of pride with their football program out of Grand Island. I mean, think of all the guys that have gone on to play not only at Nebraska, but other schools, and have even, Tom Rathman comes to mind, that's gone to the NFL, among others that have come out.
Was
of
John
St.
Perella from there?
I think he was Central Catholic.
Okay.
I think he was a Central Catholic guy. But they take great pride, even though they haven't won a state football title in 46 years. I mean, they're still very prideful, and rightfully so.
That felt like a little bit of a jab.
Wow.
This is a Lincoln show.
Yeah.
As for Southwest last week, I believe they lost. Is that correct?
No, they beat North Star. It was like 7-6. It was a defensive battle.
And it was a tight game.
It was a
Yeah.
very tight game. I mean, I'm kicking myself that I didn't stay to watch that one. I did the East and Elkhorn South game, and
I heard they had a lot of cramping problems
it-
last week.
they did well.
I heard they had a lot of players go out, like starters that weren't able to participate effectively in that game because of hydration and cramping issues.
Elkhorn South did.
Yeah.
I mean, there were a lot of those guys that went down. Now, granted, by the time the sun was moving, it was, they were out in the sun the whole time on that east sideline, whereas more of the shade came over toward the west side where East High was at. But to Elkhorn South's credit, the Shanahan kid ran and scored 3 touchdowns, and then Landon Tate had a pick 6 for 92 yards out. I mean, they're a good football team, and I think they're one of those teams that will probably fly just under the radar. Is one of the more premier teams you're not only going to find in Omaha, but also in Class A. Lincoln East, though, looked like they were just trying to get something going offensively. And to Elkhorn South's credit, their defense is solid, but East had just too many difficulties just trying to get the ball into the red zone area. I think they only got across midfield maybe 4 or 5 times all game. But they settled for a field goal from Colin Ney, and then they got a safety in the second half that gave them the 5 points. But I think East still has a chance to rebound here. They go to North Platte tonight.
That's a tough one. We're talking about the Grand Island road trip. The North Platte road trip's a tough
Grand Island road trip's nothing
compared to North Platte.
Oh yeah, it's nothing compared to going to North Platte or even up to Norfolk for that matter. Norfolk's a lot closer to Lincoln than it is North Platte is. But East hits the road tonight. You got Southeast, Southwest. Last week, Northeast got their first win in more than 29 games. They beat Omaha Northwest 48-0. Then they go to Omaha Bryan tonight, and that's a winnable game for the Rockets. And then they got Omaha Benson next week, as we've talked about here in the last couple of weeks that we've done football previews. Northeast potentially could be a 3-0 team as they try to rebuild that program. One of the bigger matchups in Class A tonight, you got Millard North welcoming in Cherry Creek out of suburban Denver. And Cherry Creek High School is one of those perennial powers in a lot of athletics. And so, last week you saw Millard South go down to the Phoenix area and play down there, and Millard South got beat, unfortunately. But, Millard North has a chance to take on a Cherry Creek team and maybe build up their resume a little bit to go to 2-0, and they got a first-year head coach up there. By the way, they got rid of it sounds like they got rid of the tape around the helmets. You know what I'm talking about?
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah, and they got I think the Millard North logo now on the side. They haven't had that, I don't think, ever.
No.
Wait, I was confused. Did you see the video last week of their win whenever the fences came down? No. It's going viral right now. It's got millions of views of Millard North partying with their student section after they got the win last week.
Really?
And the student section was pushing up against the fence to the field so hard that it comes down, and like some players start jumping on the fence and whatnot. It was pretty wild.
A little dangerous.
But yeah, I was like, oh, is that Millard North? And yeah, no tape on the helmet. It's back to the Mustang logo on the side. It's very different looking.
You mentioned Millard South earlier, Elijah. They did shut out Millard West 56-0. So
they're going to be a good football
I
team.
still think Millard South is the team to beat, hands down. Nothing against Westside, nothing against anybody else, even teams here in Lincoln. I think just basically on paper, that junior class that they got up there, maybe one of the best classes that I've seen in 25 years of doing prep coverage. Even as a spectator, even growing up and watching football around this area, Millard South's got a good group of kids. Marion Jackson's a top-notch wide receiver. The Tamala kid's a good quarterback. They got good guys on the line. So I think Millard South right now, even though they got beat by that team out of Arizona, I think they're going to be the team to beat this year in Class A. Really quick, some other games of note. You got Lincoln Northwest. Talk about making a road trip. They got to go out to Scotts Bluff.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's a road trip.
I do not envy that.
I'm not going to that one.
No.
That's what, 6.5 hours in a bus?
Well, yeah, in a bus.
6 or 7, maybe.
Yeah, those school buses don't drive like you and I do on the interstate.
No.
And the thing is, how far do you go? Do you go out to Kimball and then turn north and go straight up to Scotts Bluff, or do you branch off there at Lake McConaughey and take Highway 26?
Don't even know how. Never driven to Scotts Bluff.
You've never driven to Scotts Bluff?
It's about and if you still stay north of McConaughey, you can let all the kids who probably may not ever get another chance to go past Chimney Rock,
right,
and see all the sights.
Yeah, go check out the scenery.
With that road trip, do you just book someplace to stay for your whole football team? You get back at 5 a.m?
That's a good question. Now, I think it was Pius a year ago. It was Pius that had to go out and play at Scotts Bluff. They left early that Friday. They got out there. They turned around and drove back that same night and got back into Lincoln early the next morning.
I mean, that's probably what you're doing.
Is there such thing as bus lag?
I suppose there would be.
I can't imagine that the high school athletic departments have budgets for, hotels for 40 hotel rooms.
Yeah, so you have baseball teams that do it, but that's different because you can.
It's a smaller number
on 10 hotel rooms.
You put them on Hooks' jet and just fly them out there.
Well, my dad years ago, he told me this story that anytime they played basketball against North Platte or Kearney, or Grand Island for that matter, in a single weekend, what they would do is they would bus out to like North Platte, play their game, and they drive to Kearney or Grand Island, stay overnight, and play either at Kearney or Grand Island the following night, then drive back to Lincoln. So back then there were budgets for it, but now, especially with football today and the way the costs are for lodging that many people, I mean, I don't know if it's feasible
Yeah.
to have it done.
It makes
So-
it easier for basketball because you know 2 games
Right.
a weekend.
But even football at that point, I think they still did it. But
No.
What else do we got for some other local games?
other games of note: Waverly's at Seward tonight. Norris is up at Gretna. Lincoln High's got Northwest and Omaha Northwest in town. Lincoln Christian's got Wilbur Claytonia. Lincoln Lutheran's at Auburn. That ought to be a tough
That's a
one
big good
tonight. Those are just some games. And up in the Metro tonight, you got Bellevue West, Omaha Central. You got Wahoo and Ashland Greenwood in Class C1. That's a biggie.
That'll be a good game.
U10 and Wahoo Newman in C2. That's the other biggie there tonight around the area. Those are just some games of note. And then we got the Southwest Southeast game tonight here on the radio.
Awesome.
Motzi, we do have I have a trivia question for you here.
You got a trivia question for me?
Yeah, it's
Will used to do that and he quit
He
doing
did,
it.
he
stopped doing it.
He's slacking.
Yeah.
it's not your strong suit, but it is a fun one that I want to see if you know.
Okay.
Okay. So Millard North tonight is playing Cherry Creek
Okay.
in Denver. Cherry Creek has one alumni who is currently in the NFL as a head coach. Can you name that NFL head coach that went to Cherry Creek High School? Played on the football team there too.
I'm drawing a blank. How old?
I'd put him in early 40s. There's 2 active head coaches that were born and raised in Denver. So
I you know what? I give up.
okay, this is Kyle Shanahan.
Well, jeez.
Kyle Shanahan went to Cherry Creek.
Well, I don't
High
know why I
School.
didn't think of that because his dad was out of Denver for
That
a
makes
while.
sense.
Mhm.
Right.
It
Makes
does
sense.
make sense.
The other NFL head coach from Denver is Mike McDaniel of the Miami Dolphins, who was a ball boy under Kyle and Mike Shanahan back in
I
the
didn't
day
know that.
in Denver.
Wow.
There's your fun fact of the day.
There's
Love
the
that
fun
fun
fact of the day.
Nice.
So Kyle Shanahan, alumni of Cherry Creek High School, but he will not be coaching or playing against Millard North tonight.
Okay. So are you going to keep me over to do score prediction or whatever for tomorrow?
Is that up to me? I don't know.
Oh, that's what they usually do.
Yeah, what-
We're filling in. I don't know.
You stay the whole show.
Well, I can stay for the next segment at least.
Okay.
Not the whole show.
Well, all right.
He's got real work to do with you.
Yeah.
We got impending weather.
Gotta be nice.
All right, well, let's take a break. When we return, we'll get into more into Nebraska, Colorado, and we'll get Jeff Moats and everyone's score prediction.
More next on the Morning Hookup on KFOR.
Yeah. Just saw Kearney Grand Island. That's another big game. Shane pointing that out. Thank you. Just saw that on the chat.
So, been doing these semi-glutides with some B12. 17 and a half pounds in 5 weeks.
Look at you. I love that.
And it's
Congrats.
like psychologically, like looking at food, like, no, I don't want it.
I love that.
That's great.
That's awesome.
Instead of like, where's my buffet?
It's called a bulking phase. Never give up on the bulking phase.
Yeah, I could tell you've dropped weight.
Yeah,
Big
from my
time.
belly to my ass, but I've got a lot more to go.
It's perfect. It's perfect.
Oh, Zimpic Malone.
Ozempic, Malone.
Ozempic. Well, it's not technically that they add this B12 to it,
Yeah.
so the doctor can put it under a weight loss program as opposed to diabetes, low blood sugar, yada yada yada.
Did you have your blood sugar checked at all?
Yeah, I've had that checked. I don't have. I'm fine.
A1C's great.
Nice, buddy. Good for you.
I just had about 45 extra pounds, and you think about that. I'm getting a little bit bigger, and at the end of the day, you think, okay, I'm 45 over my last playing weight. Can you imagine just like running around the track carrying, a couple 25 dumbbells?
Yeah, it'd be
That's
tough.
crazy.
I was, I've been down 50 and I'm still hovering. I've plateaued. But almost 2 years ago, I went to, go get a physical and a checkup and everything. And if you go back to what my playing weight was in basketball, I was about 120 20 pounds over
Oh,
my playing weight in high school.
wow.
Well, you think about it.
I was big. You can't tell because of my frame, but it was all around the gut and everything else.
You gain 5 pounds a year for 25 years.
Yeah.
There's 125 pounds real quick,
Mhm.
you know?
And everyone
It's just-
expects to lose it right away. And
Right.
what you
well, that's
understand is
because
that-
I had no problems gaining it.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
But you look back, like it took you, 7, 8 years to gain that. You're not losing that in 2 months. And if you do, it's going to be unhealthy.
Yeah,
trying to
but
explain
gaining
that to
it
my
didn't
wife.
require any effort at all.
You just
I
had
did driving down to
No,
Hookup.
but it didn't seem hard. It didn't seem hard. But doing some pushaways, pushing myself away from the table, that takes work.
you finally have to wake up one day and look at yourself in the mirror and say, I can't eat a whole large pizza like I used to. I mean, that was me. And I've, as age has gone along, I've slowly not been able to do that anymore. Now,
But what sucks though is watching Xavier do that and then lose 2 pounds.
I know.
Yeah, oh, to be young and spry again.
Oh,
Wake up without back pain.
See, I'm at the point in my life
it's
where
my sciatica.
where it's like I have 2-3 beers watching an NFL game, and I wake up the next morning and I go, oh my goodness,
Yeah, that's
getting old.
Elijah.
Not like
no,
that bad.
Not even
Yeah.
close. Although you do reach a point though where like you can do that and just wake up the next day and you're fine
Maggie,
for a long time.
Maggie on the chat says, being that person, giving myself a shout out in the chat because I knew Elijah's trivia question. Congratulations.
All right.
The Wilson family, just
Crushed it.
sports encyclopedias.
DS says, new diet plan, Slim Chickens diet. I could do the Slims diet with the grilled chicken strips. I could do that every day.
Or the grilled chicken salad.
There's that too.
All right, gentlemen, we're coming back here.
You said you went in for a physical.
Thank God it's Friday.
A fullback Friday here on the morning hookup. Elijah Herbal alongside Hugh Malone, Dr. Dane Todd, Jeff Moats, as we got you geared up for high school football. Going to get you geared up for Nebraska, Colorado. Get you our score predictions as well.
Do people really need to be geared up?
I mean, no,
I mean, they
I think it's
are.
been all week.
it's been all off season.
Yeah,
It's
big-
been since June.
I've heard the downtown was already getting wild last night. Everybody excited. It's gonna be it'll be wild down there. I'm gonna go down extra early just to make sure I don't have any problems parking and getting there and everything else.
You do that for me. I'm staying away.
Yeah, well, I don't really have much of an option. So
You guys want to see the wild stat I saw last night in terms of anticipation level for this? The get-in price resale for Nebraska, Colorado is higher than every single NFL game this weekend, except for the Packers and the Eagles in Brazil.
really,
Every other game, it's cheaper to get into the NFL game opening weekend than it is to get into Nebraska, Colorado.
Why are the Packers and Eagles playing down in Brazil?
Because football's worldwide.
I know. I get it.
can't tweet about it.
Two cold weather city teams playing in the
Amazon.
Amazon, basically.
That's all right. I mean, didn't Nebraska volleyball go down there? Was
Yeah.
that this year?
Was that last off season?
Sometime relatively recently. I think they
within the
went down
past
there.
2-3 years. they were
Yeah.
down there.
Your favorite Dane quote. This is from Ryan. Where's my favorite Dane quote? Didn't build this body on salad.
That's right. Not on salad.
Steak nuggets.
His body was built by, well, anything except salad. Lots of things. Alcohol, pizza,
Carbs.
carbs,
Protein,
Creatine.
lots
meat,
of protein.
lots of
Creatine.
protein.
And then some more creatine.
Yeah.
Well, guys, I want to ask you about this. I think that, we talked a little bit about the first segment about how maybe us outside the team to an extent make this more of a rivalry game. Because that's a way that we get ourselves kind of jacked up. We look at revenge factors or a flamboyant coach in the news, and we just a reason to get these guys back. And I look at this as an opportunity, a big game as far as an opportunity. I want to get your guys' take on this because I look back to last year about this time with Nebraska Colorado game. Obviously, at that time, you had two new head coaches. Dion is already getting a lot of publicity as it was, because he's the new, the NFL great that's coming in and coaching. but I believe it was their win against us last year that really propelled them into the news.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they were being talked about by everybody. At least we all know what happened to the second half of their season. It kind of went downhill. But that game after us, they were the team that was talked about. You know, whether that would help him recruit or not, I don't know. We all know he recruits a little bit differently. This year, I see that kind of as a reverse role, especially for Nebraska. I think our team is better than we were last year. We're not going to put all the eggs in one basket because obviously we still have 10 other games besides this. But I think this presents us an opportunity. You're playing at 6:30 on NBC, Peacock, whatever you have. 40 recruits are going to come in. Hoiberg's even got recruits coming in. There's a lot of eyes that are going to be on this game, especially for two teams that are unranked. If you go out and you win this, what does that do for the light of your program that for better part of the last 7-10 years has really, really, really suffered?
The most important thing out of all of this is if Dylan Raiola has the same game like he did last weekend against UTEP and does it against Colorado, I think you see major progress being done. And you can tell that he's a big-time quarterback, number one. Number two, when you look at the quarterback position, let's go back to a year ago. You know, Jeff Sims came in, didn't exactly work out. Heinrich Harburg did what he could to pick up some of that slack. And I still think Heinrich is a very good quarterback, and I thought he did a pretty good job considering what they were up against a year ago. But in that game last year, it was like the deer in the headlights look for a guy like Jeff Sims, especially when there were turnovers involved. I think the situation now with the quarterback spot with Nebraska heading into this game has got a much different tone and feel to it.
Well,
And I think that's simply because of what we saw Dylan Raiola do last week. And you hope that carries over to tomorrow night. But Colorado's not going to come in and just roll over and play dead just because of a loud environment, a much louder environment, more energized crowd potentially tomorrow night. So, yeah, they're going to come in and play. But if Raiola and some of the newcomers come out and they play a solid game tomorrow night like they did last week, I think it's a positive step, not only for Nebraska in the right direction, but it should serve notice that this team is a lot different than what they were a year ago at the same time.
And I mean, you talk about the national significance here. Like, we're talking Thursday night football, the opening game of the NFL season. What are they pimping? Oh, it's Dylan Raiola versus Shadur Sanders, Saturday night, NBC. Like, I don't think if Nebraska's game plan is to let Shadur and Dylan Raiola duel it out, a true freshman against a senior, I don't like Nebraska's chances in that, but I don't think that is going to be Nebraska's game plan. But that to the side, like, that is the relevant piece here of Nebraska is they have a quarterback that is nationally relevant, is going to get eyes on this football game. I think it's probably going to be the second most viewed game of the college football weekend behind Texas and Michigan. We'll see how close that Texas and Michigan game is, but like, it's going to be nationally relevant. People are going to care about Nebraska, Colorado, not just because of Nebraska, Colorado, but because you have two top quarterbacks potentially that are going to be dueling it out, and the eyes are going to be there. The question to me is not, can Nebraska physically stack up with this Colorado team? They absolutely can. The question to me is, how does Nebraska handle the prime time lights, if you will, the bright lights in that big time moment? Because we've seen it a lot of times in the past decade or so that whenever the lights are bright and you have a big time game, this team crumbles.
I think honestly though, like as I look at this, what you're looking at is a team we played last year and lost to. And if we play that same team this year and win, it shows more progress on our side of things than on their side of things. And so I think as this season goes on, all I'm kind of really looking at, and I think the barometer for success that we should really be looking at is those games against teams that we played against last year. Are we better than we were a year before, right? Because I don't think anybody has national championship aspirations this year, right? I don't think anybody's like going that nuts, right? But we do think we can be better. And so I think that if you just take this game at its face value like that, this is a direct comparison from last year to this year. And it's, because Colorado still has their top playmakers that they had last season in Travis Hunter and Shadur, right? with kind of a revamped line and, moving parts and pieces. And Nebraska has essentially our defense from last year, right? With a new quarterback, a couple new receivers, a lot of the same pieces on our line, right? And so how much have we improved versus how much has Colorado improved? And is there a 30-point swing, right? An improvement, right? Because I can't remember what the score of the game was last year.
30, 38, 16,
14.
14, 38, 14.
Right. So are we talking about, have we
Maybe.
switched?
I mean, a lot of
that
those
around?
38 points, came in the second half on short fields. We talked, you alluded to the turnovers last year. And obviously, to kind of go off what he was saying, you have the same defenses back. A lot of those guys are now even more familiar with Coordinator White's system. A lot of veteran starts on that offensive line. Is it still the Washington Redskins of the 80s? Probably not, but very serviceable. I think, not to call anyone out, but I think you do have an upgrade at quarterback position. You've upgraded at the receiver spots. You're not playing a couple of true freshmen out there that are just, removed from high school prom. You went out and you got some veteran leadership there, and you've got a four-headed monster in that backfield too. Not to mention 90,000 fans that are going to be hydrated by the time that this game starts. It's going to be a wild environment, and it really sets up nicely. I think one of the important things for Nebraska, everyone's going to say this week that game's going to be won in the trenches, and it probably will. I think this is key on multiple reasons for Nebraska to go out and hit them in the mouth first, because you saw a little bit last week with Colorado at North Dakota State, and maybe we don't know what was said, but you saw Sanders kind of getting a little angry at times with his receivers on the sideline. And hey, that's just our culture and our environment. I honestly think the way that Colorado team is constructed, it's very combustible. Mm-hmm. And if you jump on them, they will catch fire, especially you add Warren Sapp to that mix, and you could see a mutiny on their own sideline, and it could spiral quick.
And I thought that was going to happen against North Dakota State. And let's face it, North Dakota State is a program that's very good. And, I think should be among the mix of major college football teams, considering their success in recent years and for quite a while. But, at one point I remember seeing, North Dakota State was up, 20-7, I think, in that game last week out there in Boulder. And I'm like, wow, what's wrong with Colorado here? And you're right. It comes down to composure. If Colorado can't keep their composure against Nebraska tomorrow night, it's Nebraska the whole way. I think it's simply because of how Nebraska seems like they're more focused and composed. And when you look at Colorado, if something isn't going their way, if they're not off on the right foot to start out and out ahead of everybody else, and if it's not going their way, then there could be some self-combustion happening.
They were the definition of front runners last year.
I mean, but they came back last week.
Last week,
They did, and they
have the ability to do it.
They had the Colorado State game last year, but they were riding an emotional high in a rivalry game.
Right. I think, honestly, I think one of the big keys is keeping an eye on Travis Hunter, right? I mean, the guy's a freak, right? Like, there's no question. The guy is just special, talent-wise.
Does a body wear down after 137 snaps constantly, though?
I mean, didn't seem to wear down that bad
after
last
one
year,
game. Well,
right?
Okay.
So it is one game, and it's not like he's playing O-line, right? So it's not like he's getting as many hits as a lot of other people, but it'll wear eventually. But I mean, he's still a freak, right? He's still incredibly talented. And so I think if you can keep that under wraps, but I agree that I think it all comes down to the line play and who has more time, right? Who has more time to make decisions and move the ball. And hopefully we see a lot of the run game, because North Dakota did a really good job of moving the ball on the ground with just power schemes and other things, right? And so hopefully we can kind of grind away with the ground game, which is what we saw a lot of it with UTEP last week. Is our backs were getting 3, 4, 5 yards at a time. And I mean, look at the first drive. The first drive was 7+ minutes, right? The opening drive. That's not because you're slinging the ball all over the place. It's because you're just taking little bits.
And that keeps you on schedule.
Mhm.
And I said this after that first drive last week. I said, despite the 2 penalties that were committed on that opening drive, that might have been the most smoothest opening drive to a football season that Nebraska's had in quite a while. I couldn't even tell you the last time I saw a Nebraska offense to start the season on their very first drive of the season come out so smooth like that.
When was the last time you saw Husker offense pick up a 2nd and 30?
Well, yeah, exactly.
Wild.
But, and Dylan Raiola, I mean, the passes that he was throwing, I mean, they were basically dimes. It's just that the guys were diving for it. They were right there, and they just couldn't complete them.
And it was great. I think it was great. I mean, there's part of me that would love nothing better than watch Colorado go 0-12. But I think in the grand scheme, it was nice to see them win a game like that. But you saw there's some of their weaknesses, but it doesn't really back them into a must win this week, because I look at and I see a lot of similarities between what North Dakota State did and what we'll try and do.
Mhm.
And no disrespect to those guys, because like you alluded to, very great program, a lot of success over the last 10, 15 years. But at the end of the day, we can try and do exactly what they did with better athletes. Bigger, stronger offensive linemen, bigger backs, and especially on defense, with having Nash and Robinson up there. If those guys, I mean, we hit Sanders a ton last year. I'll give the guy credit. He kept getting back up. I mean, that's phenomenal. But if you are putting pressure on him, force him to rush some decisions by being able to get to him with 4, maybe even 3 guys sometimes, and that allowing you to drop 6, 7, maybe even 8 once in a while into coverage, especially with the receivers they had, mix and matching, some man and some zone, some bracket coverage, force him to misread some of those secondary calls. You get a couple turnovers and force them to punt 3 times. I don't think they can stop our power running game, and that could be the big difference.
That's going to be a key. That's one thing North Dakota State did last week that not many people talk about: 0 turnovers. It's going to be a huge key. Whoever wins the turnover battle gives themselves a fantastic opportunity to win this game. We need to get our predictions in. I'll start. We got about 50 seconds left here, and I'll say I haven't seen enough from Nebraska in big-time moments or taking care of the football, so I got to pick Colorado.
You're dead to me.
I know I'm going to be dead to people. I'm going to be wrong because people are going to say, wow, you didn't know
You
football's
said it
one of
with
the
a straight
trenches.
face.
That's because he is. He's absolutely dead to me. I got Nebraska 31, Colorado 13.
Hey, you are too much of a henny penny and live in the past. Like, it's Nebraska wins by at least 2 scores, 37-24.
I'm going to go Nebraska 28, Colorado 21.
Well, that'll do it for us.
All right. Thank you,
let
guys.
everybody down. We'll see if I have a job tomorrow. It's the morning hookup. KFOR back on you on a Monday. Hooksy and Will back in studio to react to Nebraska, Colorado. Talk to you then.